Race row reaction. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. You are well aware, of course, of the recent race row that took place as a very vocal and obvious British charity boss, Ngozi Fulani, not her real name, as you know, Marlene, as Boise might have said. Well, Marlene, or Ngozi, or whatever she decides to be called this week, became very vocal about her supposed racist treatment as a consequence of questions that were asked by Lady Susan Hussey. The palace, of course, fearful of being slow to act and being branded as a racist, immediately brought about the removal of her through her causing her to offer her resignation. It would appear, of course, that the palace has been a little bit quick off the mark, because if they'd undertaken some more extensive research, they would have learned, of course, that Ngozi Fulani, or Marlene, likes to play dress-up, isn't actually from Africa, but her parents are from Barbados, that she has form with regard to being an agitator, is a known anti-monarchist, wasn't invited to the event, but in effect turned up looking to agitate, and turned up ready to record a conversation and was looking for the opportunity, of course, to ensnare somebody in a race row, which, of course, would just happen to be oh so convenient in terms of overshadowing the Princess and Princess of Wales, and also, of course, to validate the Duchess of Delusion. It would appear that whilst at first blush this appeared to have been an unfortunate conversation, as more digging into it has taken place, it can be seen that Lady Susan Hussey hasn't actually engaged in racist behaviour, but rather, upon seeing somebody dressed in colourful clothing and ethnic clothing, was moved to ask, so where are you from? And it wasn't a case of looking at somebody who was with black skin colour, wearing, for instance, a suit or a two-piece, and then going, oh, where are you from? She was drawn to the fact that the individual was wearing clothing which denotes some form of Afro-Caribbean influence, and therefore was moved to want to know more. And also, bearing in mind her age, and of course the way that it was reported was the slant given by Ngozi as if to immediately say, oh, I was being cross-examined, it was an interrogation, and it felt like abuse. Well, that was just her side of the story. Lady Susan Hussey hadn't been able to put forward her side of the story, but she may well have said, no, I was struck by what she was wearing, and therefore I wanted to know where she'd come from, because she was clearly signalling to me that her ancestry was from somewhere else, and that was what I was getting at. And it might be that she said, oh, she was being evasive. And of course, given Ngozi, or Marlene's status known as an agitator, it's not too great a stretch of the imagination to determine that she probably was being somewhat evasive when she was being questioned in order to manufacture it appearing like some form of inquisition. Now, why would she engage in all of this? Well, as mentioned, of course, it was hugely convenient because it had caused a race row to spring up when the Waleses were in the United States, undoubtedly causing Harry's wife to clap her hands with glee, and also, of course, to cause there to be validation for the porky pies that Harry's wife has spoken about with regard to claiming that members of the British royal family are racist. Of course, the dimwits on Twitter can't see through all of this, but many people have done so. But there's actually more to this, because Lady Susan Hussey saw Harry's wife for what she was at an early juncture. She saw through the behaviours and commented as such. The Telegraph reports, Lady-in-Waiting, Lady Susan Hussey, served for 60 years to the late Queen and was known as number one head girl. And it was a mark of the King's gratitude to Baroness Hussey that she remained at the palace even after her role ceased to exist. As one of the most senior ladies in waiting, she was previously known as Lady Susan Hussey, was perhaps Queen Elizabeth's closest companion, and it was she who accompanied her in the back of her state Bentley as it followed Prince Philip's hearse during his funeral last year. She was also one of the 20 staff who formed HMS Bubble, the small retinue who looked after Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip at Windsor Castle during lockdown. Her resignation is a sad end to the career of a woman who was chosen as one of Prince William's godparents and attended his confirmation in 1997. However, in 2018, a few months before the wedding of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, she is reported to have told a group of theatre executives during a lunch that their marriage will all end in tears. Mark my words. And the Telegraph, further reporting back in July, states, one of the Queen's longest-serving aides warned that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex marriage would all end in tears, a new biography claims. Lady Hussey, a lady-in-waiting to the Queen since 1960, is alleged to have made the comment at a lunch with a group of theatre executives a few months before the couple got married. In his book Revenge, Harry's wife, Harry and the War Between the Windsors, Tom Bower writes, while discussing the possibility that Harry's wife might become associated with the National Theatre after the wedding, Hussey became unexpectedly serious about the couple's future. That will all end in tears, she is alleged to have warned, mark my words. As one of the Queen's most trusted confidants, Lady Hussey, 83, was said to have been part of a palace team directed to help the Duchess of Sussex settle into life within the royal family. And therefore, it would appear that having some involvement with her on a personal day-to-day basis, she'd formed the measure of Harry's wife's behaviour. Nothing to do with her skin colour, but once again, testimony of someone who'd actually experienced the behaviour of Harry's wife. The article continues, the team was led by Samantha Cohen, the Queen's former assistant private secretary, who was persuaded to withdraw her resignation to help the Duchess through the wedding and beyond. Lady Hussey and other close companions of the Queen visited the Duchess at Nottingham Cottage to offer help and advice, the book claims. In response, the American actress was said to be insistent that she would not allow Buckingham Palace to shape her, dictate her thoughts or activities, nullification of threat to control, sense of entitlement. Accordingly, Lady Hussey already had some involvement with Harry's wife. She'd seen the way that she had behaved. She'd formed a view. She may well not have recognised that Harry's wife is a narcissist, but she'd seen enough of the behaviour to know this was a difficult person, an individual who did not accept help, constructive assistance, an individual who wanted it all her own way, an individual who was demanding, an individual that rode roughshod over the interests and concerns of other people. And thus, she expressed her concerns, having witnessed the behaviour, i.e., she saw the evidence. So often, of course, we hear from the sugar lumps that say, you don't know her. Well, lumps, neither do you. But actually, as I've explained to you before, I've met her, and many other people have, and therefore they are entitled to comment upon the behaviour of Harry's wife. It's all about, as I repeatedly made clear, going to the evidence. This is what Lady Hussey did. And having expressed that concern about the marriage, which of course undoubtedly will have reached the ears of Harry's wife, she will, as part of her pity plays, part of her smearing, her indirect assertions of control, will have complained about people such as Catherine, Camilla, the Queen, Lady Hussey, and others besides, two members of the coterie, the Dr. Shouty Sholers of this world, and, of course, Marlene. There may not have been necessarily any direct contact between the two, although I suspect that there has. And it's not the case that Harry's wife will have said this. Look, what I want you to do is go in there with a prepared agenda to race bait somebody, and then what we'll do is we'll release it when the Waleses are undertaking Earthshot, and that will cause a stink. No, What will actually happen is that Harry's wife, as part of her indirect assertion of control over people like Lady Hussey, etc., will have complained about her treatment. Do you know she said that the marriage wouldn't last? Do you know she said that there would be tears before bedtime? She's another race-hating individual. And of course, this complaint reaches the ears, directly or indirectly, of Marlene. And like many members of the coterie and lieutenants, she takes it upon herself to strike back in the name of Harry's wife and, of course, to suit her own agendas with regard to race baiting and being an anti-monarchist. Thus, she bowls up and engages in the behaviour that has been reported. It serves the purpose of Harry's wife and it serves her. As I've explained in parts passing, those that continue to support Harry's wife are either the deluded numbskulls that can't see what she is, then another group that realise she isn't the prize that they thought she was, but they've gone too far. They're balls deep and they need to carry on, so to speak. And then thirdly, there are those individuals who actually couldn't give two hoots about Harry's wife, but she serves an agenda for them, that she's the poster child to play the race card, and that totem with regard to having taken on the monarchy and supposedly succeeded in outing them as colonial imperial racists. Those individuals then run around looking for further evidence to support this. Harry's wife, of course, laps it up. It serves her purposes also. But these individuals, as is the case with Marlene, she did it for herself, but as a member of the coterie of Harry's wife, there was a benefit also with regard to timing and the content. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.